fourth grade. Mrs. Builder here with your reading lesson for Tuesday. Today we're talking about perspective versus point of view. We haven't done a whole lot of this work necessarily in reading, probably a little bit more in writing, especially in grammar when we talk about pronouns. So today we're looking at that perspective versus point of view and what the difference between the two really are. So today I want to remind you that when readers work through stories, they pay attention to the point of view and the perspective to help them comprehend and to analyze stories. So to do that, we look at that perspective and really understand what that means. So that perspective is a particular attitude towards something. It's a way of regarding something, a way of viewing something. So you can think about perspective and how you see. The point of view refers to who is telling the story. A story can be told in three different ways: first person, second person, third person, all of which you've probably heard before. So point of view refers to who's telling it. That's like what you're hearing. Okay, so keep those things in mind when we do our work today. So as we continue to think about this, to understand characters' perspective, we can think about a few things. So we can think about a character's role in life that might influence what they see or feel. You can think about a character's past and how that could influence what they think or how they feel. You could think about a character's group membership, like who they associate with, their group, and how that might influence the way they think or feel. And lastly, you can think about the setting, the character's place, or the setting, the environment, and how that could possibly influence the way that they think or feel. So really think about perspective as the way you see something. It's different for each person. So perspective, think about that seeing, that eye. Okay, so when we think about point of view now, okay, just pull up my post-it here. When you think about point of view, it's a little different. So point of view can also abbreviate as POV. Point of view is who is telling the story. So ways in which the author allows you to see and to hear the text. So I know see is that perspective, and we talked about that, but we can hear what the person is kind of seeing and seeing it through their eyes. So first person, the character is telling the story. The narrator is a participant in this. Second person, it pulls you into the story. And third person, someone from the outside is telling the story. So the narrator isn't immersed in the story. They're kind of an outsider looking in. So when we think about some of the things we talked about in grammar, we talked about pronouns quite a lot, and I know that we also do them in our grammar and our DOL. So when we think about first person and what pronouns that might look like. First person point of view pronouns, I, me, my. And think about first person, the character is telling the story, so that makes sense. I went to the store. My family is eating dinner. Second person pronouns, point of view pronouns, you or your. Second person, remember, you're getting drawn into the story. You become a part of it. The reader's pulled in. So they can refer to you when writing and reading because you are being drawn into it. And lastly is that third person point of view. So those pronouns would be he, she, his, hers, it, its, they, them, their, theirs, themself, itself, himself, herself, anything that would be those types of pronouns would be third person. And that's like an outsider looking in on something else. So those are really good things to kind of help you understand the point of view and who is telling this story or who's narrating the story. And again, so these all talk about point of view. If we're talking about that perspective versus that point of view, these all talk about point of view. Whereas if we think about what our perspective is, it's a particular attitude towards something. It's a way of regarding something or how it's being viewed. So if we take a look at this today, if we look at some examples, let's get the first one here. So here's our first example. I didn't feel ready to try the entire Appalachian Trail, but I thought that a 2-week trip would be fun for me. So this is just an excerpt pulled from somewhere. So what I'm going to do first is I'm going to try to see if I can find those examples of those pronouns that we just talked about. So I can see, and I'm just going to circle them here. I can see I can see I, and I can see me. Okay, so I'm seeing I, me. So if it's referring to me or to I'm the person telling the story. So this would be first person point of view. Okay, let's look at another example. Okay, the second one reads, you feel a sense of excitement as you look at the kayak. This will be the day you have been looking forward to. So again, I'm going to see if I can find some pronouns to help me figure out what the point of view is. I'm seeing you have been looking forward to. Okay, I see you 3 times. So you tells me that they're trying to draw the reader in. So that would be that second person point of view. Okay. So do you see how really pulling out those pronouns that are all the examples we talked about here, the I, me, my for first person, the second person, the you and the your, and then that third person, he, she, his, hers, its, they, them, their, and so on, with some of the other examples I talked about. So in doing your work today, you're going to be pulling out which point of view you're noticing, and then you're also going to have a chance to expand upon your perspective in a Google form. Mrs. Bilger is going to read some passages for you that'll be linked to your Google form. And after listening and following along with the reading, your job is going to be finding your point of view. You're just going to select that multiple choice first, second, or third, and then you'll have a chance to kind of expand upon what you think the perspective is. And again, think about that perspective, a particular attitude towards something, a way of regarding something, or a way of viewing something. So if I real quickly just give you a chance to go back to this perspective sheet we just looked at. Understanding characters' perspective. Think about these things. So the way that their life role might influence, how their past might influence, how their group membership might influence, how their environment or their place, their setting might influence. And just down here, this is really important to keep in mind. Perspective is the way you see something. It is different for each person. So there's not necessarily a right or wrong answer for perspective, as long as you kind of have some text evidence to back it up. So readers, just to reiterate today and every day, I want to remind you, when readers work through stories, they pay attention to the point of view and the perspective to really help them comprehend and analyze these stories and characters and setting and plots in their books. So in doing your work today, make sure you keep that in mind. Have a great reading lesson, and off you go.